the water's fine, homie, jump into the deep end. Sow it, you will reap it. We talking how to start it, how to grow it, how to keep it. Take a deep breath. You are now rocking with Founder Secret.
Victor, welcome to Founder Secrets.
Off.
Hey, Victor Chu is a long-time amazing friend and appreciate him so much. And I also think he has such an interesting journey of entrepreneurship and where he got today owning pharmacies and multiple other businesses. And so I want to welcome you to the pod and ask, what was your first entrepreneurial endeavor that you can remember?
Well, entrepreneurial endeavor, that's a different, I think. I mean, it was definitely selling candy in the back of a bus. On the ride to school, I was usually like the first one picked up. And then I had some extra pocket money, so I would buy jars of whatever it was, sour warheads or, those type of candies and sell them for like a quarter a piece. So
how did that start? Like you were one day going to school in a bus and you were like, I would make this bus better and more profitable.
Warheads.
I think with anything, it started with just a need, right? Or it's like I wanted candy, and it was like whatever they sell for like a piece for 15 cents, right, or something like 25 cents. And then I was just like, what if I just buy the whole jar? It's like, what's the jar price? Like a steel container, and then it was like significantly cheaper, and I was like, oh well, who doesn't want cheaper candy? And then I just had all this candy. I was like, oh, well, I just load my bag up. And then one day it's like, it was just like, oh, can I have a piece? Can I have a piece? And, you're kids, right? Like, of course, naturally, yeah, sure, you're my buddy, you have a piece. And then it was just like, oh, well, other people started asking me, I'm like, wait, you're not really my friend. It's going to cost you a bit. So that's just how it started kicked off. And then, then the bus was buying candy on the bus, load more candy in my bag.
See, like all kids want candy. But you were the only one that had that, I guess, idea and drive to start it. Where do you think that came from? Like, have you always had that?
I'm not sure. I mean, I was pretty young, probably like sixth grade or something when that happened. I think it was just seeing an opportunity. And like I said, your friends, you're willing to hook up, right? But, people who don't sit around you, like 4 or 5 rows away, like... you can't hook up everyone, right?
I love it. Okay, so then what was the first, would you say, more like official business that you started after that?
Yeah, I guess company-wise, I started a company when I was like 19 or 20 or something. And that was really, again, out of necessity because I had some motor vehicle incidents which raised my insurance significantly. So as like a 19-year-old, my car insurance was like $8,000 a year, which is very tough to afford. And so I found out that if I started a company and had commercial insurance, it was like, I don't know, it was like 20% of the cost or less. So that's how it started with the first company. And then the actual business is kind of tough because it was a mix between.
Wait, how did you get the insurance for 20% of the cost? What?
So by registering a company, I could then have commercial insurance in New Jersey, but it wasn't personal. So I then sold the car to my company, and then my company had commercial insurance, and I got commercial X plates. So they look like a normal motor vehicle plate, but it was under the company, so it was significantly less expensive.
That's a great hack.
I don't know if it's a hack anymore, but
other people caught on.
I don't know. Yeah, that was the first company. Yeah, generating revenue-wise, significant revenue. I would say probably, I don't know. I was involved in some MLMs, as a kid, and then
What's MLM?
Multi-level marketing,
Oh, dude. Actually, wait, Taylor, were you ever involved in this?
No. I mean, I'm familiar with them. Like Avon and the knives and all that.
Yeah, exactly. The vitamins, the Market America, they had this vitamin.
I got roped into one of these meetings. I went in and the guy sat me down and I was watching like, oh, this is how you're gonna make money. And the guy comes and takes $100 bill and burns it in front of and he literally burns $100 bill in front of us. So he's like, it's $100. I don't even care about $100. Like, you got to make millions of dollars for this. This is nothing. Like, oh my God, this guy just burned $100 bill in front of us. It's like, oh, those people are so good. Like those presentations. It just like was like, I got to get into this. Fortunately, a few of my older friends, like a teacher was like, had to have an intervention. It's like, look, man, I almost lost my family and my money because of this. Like, you really can't get into it. So I got really close to the edge. But all right, so what was your MLM experience?
Lighting $1,000 on fire.
Yeah, it was like, again, as a kid, like, I don't know, my mom joined something and was like, it was Market America, I think was what it was called. And they had like vitamins and this and that. And then there was like something else with like virtual online malls and stuff. And you would get basically, it's like an affiliate program, right? They would buy something from like Sharper Image and then you'd get a referral. And then they would call it your online presence. It's actually it wasn't even called online presence at that time. It was like your online mall. That's what they called it. It was like your mall. And they're buying stuff from, whatever was big back then.
So you were really early to the metaverse.
Sure. Sure. That's, yeah. I was.
So then how did it go? Like, did you,
like most MLMs is, starts off very gung ho. And then, I was able to recoup my startup costs and make some money.
That's good.
But ultimately it was just, you figure out that it turns into a hiring / recruiting gig. And you're just constantly like, you gotta do these presentations and you gotta do this big show. And then it's like, oh, well then like 3-4 people down under me haven't really made money. And it's like, oh yeah, doesn't feel so good.
So then how did you get in the pharmacy business?
Pharmacy business was actually a family business. My father was a pharmacist and started the business in like 85. But I wouldn't say like all, oftentimes working with family is very difficult. And we had different thoughts on how things should be done. And so, I never really worked with him until he passed and I took over the business. So that was.
Can you talk a little more about that? Because, actually I was just at a wedding where the couple also works together. And they're like, oh my God, we love working together. It's so great. It's perfect. Then I know another couple that have a startup, raise money, been at it for years, and they seem to be together and work together. And I can't think of a worse plan.
I couldn't imagine.
or any of my family, honestly. Like, even
Right.
when my dad had a business, like I was like, I thought I would work together, but the more we worked together, the more I realized that was like very not enjoyable for me. I'm wondering, like, what are your thoughts on like working? What made it tough for you to not work with the family?
I think it was just being young and having a very different understanding of the world where, you think you know the moves, you think you know how to run shit and do things, and it takes some understanding of like how the world works and relationships and certain things that you can't always make what feels good and the brash move and show someone. Sometimes you have to think about what the consequences of those actions and talks and relationships, what the consequences are of those actions. So I think, in my culture, we don't really talk about those things. You just sort of learn. It was like, because I remember specifically, like I would call and then no one would pick up the phone, like before, like answering. I don't want to say before answering machines, but it would ring for like 10, 15 times and then someone would pick up. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh yeah, so and so, and then this happened, and then they didn't come to work, this and that, and I was like, we just fired them, right? It's like, I fire them, find someone else. Not, and now I realize that's not exactly how things go. Just snap your fingers and you get someone replaced there.
So did you all work together until he passed, or you did not work together until
No,
after he passed?
we didn't work at all. We did not work together at all. I was on my own course. I did some telephone sales, call center, was a real estate agent, a heavy machinery mechanic, And then when he passed, someone needed to take care of the estate, which was me. I'm an only child, so at that point, hopped in, and then I've been in ever since.
Was it like under? Were you expecting that? Were you like, okay, this is my plan, or was it all kind of sprung upon you? How did you feel about taking over the business?
Mixed emotions. So his passing was pretty sudden. It was sudden, but not surprising because I would say he more or less worked himself into the grave. And so, I had an idea about how the business worked and whatnot, having, spent some time in there growing up, up until I was like, whatever, 10, cleaning shelves, checking in orders, stuff like that. I had a basic understanding. So it probably wasn't what I wanted, or yeah, it probably wasn't what I wanted, but I had sort of expectations of what I was getting into, like understanding.
You mentioned working yourself into the grave, and I think about this quite a bit because I can work a lot and enjoy it and forget about everything else. But then I could also go to the other extreme where I don't work enough and feel like I am lazy or not, helping out our employees and taking advantage of our opportunity and kind of missing out, if you will, on things. Like, how do you strike that balance between working yourself to the grave or not working at
Yeah,
all?
I think for me, I have a good propensity to not work too hard. I find it very easy to cruise at times. I don't know if it's an aversion from, seeing what my father did, but I guess the balance that I look for now, especially with a younger family, is first and foremost, do I feel good about, the interactions with my children? Do I feel like I've brought value and taught them and fulfilling their needs? If that's a yes, then, I look at business and it's like, do my staff, the people I work with, do they have what they need for success and they, keep moving forward? And then, how I'm feeling. Some weeks are just, you feel kind of blah. And then some weeks you feel like, all right, I'm gonna crush it. And of course, bottom line, if the, yeah, if you're in the
That
red,
helps.
it's, pretty clear indication. But I like to lead with family and then see how everyone else is doing and making sure we're not losing money.
That's cool.
How is the business? So it's retail pharmacies, is that right? Or is there like a delivery component? Is any of the business digital? How has the business kind of evolved maybe since you took it over? Were there changes that you put in place? Yeah, because I assume it's in a lot of flux, or the
Yeah,
industry is
yeah.
changing a
Industry
lot.
definitely changes a lot. It changes very quickly. Even from last year to now, there's been a lot of changes. So yeah, I guess part of it, I mean, it's all retail. We basically, our business, my business, is a commodity where the drug is the drug. It's the same drug you're going to get anywhere else, and it basically costs the patient the same anywhere else they go. So you got insurance, you go to CVS, you come to my place, costs you the same. You don't really care, right? So where we set ourselves apart, our advantage is we're able to work with patients a little bit more, maybe help them out where we can, deliver faster, better service. We'll call doctors if we can save them some money. We'll call doctors if we can get them better therapy. We'll call insurance companies and advocate on their behalf. So these are all things that where what the insurances pay, what I should say is it's changed over time. So we've added these different components. And more recently, in the last 6 months, the online part of it, online presence, actually is moving the needle the most. So we have to provide better service, faster service, and we're, I guess, improving our funnel with the online presence, which I was actually very surprised about. Even though we get maybe 10 clicks, but something with just having content on there and just spread across different platforms. Like I never thought I'd be advertising on TikTok. I'm serious. And I'm advertising on TikTok.
Can you expand on that? What kind of ads, or yeah, what are you seeing on
It's
TikTok?
there's like real basic videos. I'm like, hey, we have some crystals, or, we have a new, know, we have a delivery service, we have whatever it may be, a product of the week. It's like, like there's like a Keto 1000 solution, right? It's not a solution. It's basically like salts, magnesium, potassium. Think of it as powdered Gatorade, but instead of having a lot of salt, it has a lot of potassium. So, we had tried to appeal to health people and say, hey, it's kind of like Gatorade, and maybe more for me and other folks of our likeness is it's a great hangover remedy where, you have some of this before you go to sleep. And I mean, it's significantly better than Gatorade, like not even close. It's got like 20 times the amount of electrolytes.
Wait, does it work?
I believe it works.
The Keto,
Keto
1000?
Yeah, what is it called? I feel like all of our listeners are going to buy Keto 1000.
Go to friendlypharmacy.
Friendlypharmacy.com, that is.
.jc?
Yes.
Wait, friendlypharmacy.jc.com. Ah, interesting. What is that? What's the .d?
You know what? I might be wrong. It might be just friendlypharmacyjc.com.
Yeah, there it is. Friendlypharmacyjc.com. I found it.
Okay. Friendly Pharmacy, Jersey
Yeah,
City is
there's
what
a lot of
JC
friendly
stands
pharmacies
for. Yeah.
and bodegas. They're just owned by different people in different places.
How does the, you touched on this a little bit about the competition between like you and let's say CVS or someone like that. Is it purely service? You said it was kind of a commodity. It's the same if I buy this drug here at CVS. Is it purely service? Do they form a relationship with the pharmacist? Like, how does it kind of work? How does, like, if you want to increase revenue, you want to get more customers, if you're running TikTok ads, when they come in, they're already getting prescriptions every month? Like, what is kind of an average customer or a good customer look
exactly
like?
what it is, relationship. Building relationships. And I mean, this is probably not the best thing to say, but although I'm in the pharmacy business, I'm not a big proponent of medication. I feel that we're often overprescribed, overmedicated, and if there's a way to resolve, a health issue without medication, that would be ideal. But it takes time, right? It takes time, and having those relationships. And some patients appreciate that, you care, that you don't want them to be taking maybe a statin for the rest of their life. And there's another portion that just want to take a statin and be good. Doctor said take a statin, I take a statin. But yeah, relationships and I think care, right? Caring about your patients. Negative. I have been
You take a
prescribed a
statin?
statin though.
Dude, I have a statin right now sitting on the bathroom counter. I'm contemplating whether to take it or not.
What is a statin?
It's for lowering your cholesterol. So you have some other businesses besides the pharmacy that you've started over the years with different partners. And I wanted to ask you more on that choosing. We talk about family being a partner, but what about other friends of partners, or how have you chosen a partner in the past? How's that changed over time? How would you do it differently in the future?
That's kind of a tough question because although I work with some people, and you know what, now that you mention it, the sandwich shop, I did have an equity business partner, but that was probably the only business that I had a equity business partner, and that was sort of organic, where we were friends first, and I've told this story in the past where that was sort of a passion or a hobby. I would say it's a hobby that got out of control. And a short story was I liked the food a lot. I approached the owners at the time and was like, hey, you guys make a really good product. You want to, expand this a bit. You handle the food, I'll handle the business. And then one day they called me in to have a meeting and they're like, we're getting divorced and we want to sell the shop. And I was like, no, I can't buy it. I have too much stuff going on, and tried to shop it for them to some friends and whatnot. And then a couple of buddies were like, oh yeah, let's do this. It's going to be great. In the end, it was a lot of work, and for the hours I was putting into the sandwich shop, I could have probably ran 4 pharmacies. Yes. Yeah.
Really?
I was there like a lot. We closed at like 10, I'd be there like 12, 16 hours a day. It was rough. And I didn't really like it. And my dreams were, I'm going to have this place. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to make this awesome food, right? Everyone's going to smile and like glow after they eat this food. They're going to give me high fives. I'm going to be like, yeah. It had like 6 seats, right? never got to see anyone eat it and be like, oh, that was amazing, right? Maybe it happened like once a month. And so the only way we knew we were doing a good job is we got more orders. People would come in and buy more. And so it was like highly unfulfilling. And in the end, yeah.
Wait, so, yeah. So you start, a husband and wife ran it. You came in as a partner. The husband and wife said, we're getting a divorce. So then you bought them out and
what
then
what
brought
happened
in new
was
partners? Is that the
I
way it worked?
approached them to, expand the business. Then they called me and said, we're getting a divorce. Do you want to buy the shop? And I was like, no. So I tried to help them sell it and I shopped it to a couple people and they were like, oh, this sounds great. Let's do it together. And then I was like, oh, I got some other things happening. There's like a whole bunch of stuff that I don't want to do. And then they're like, okay, you don't have to do those things. So three of us, we went in and we bought the shop and they were both friends. And so, yeah, that's how that first partnership started. And yeah, it's probably unlikely that I'll be partners with them again. It was definitely a strain on the friendship as well. Although one of them I'm still pretty good with. So yeah, I mean, other than that, I have not really had partners. I've basically just been, have all the equity. And there's a couple of people that I work with, maybe more like affiliates. They help bring traffic to the pharmacies and whatnot. But I actually am revisiting this. So the question is tough because I feel like with the right partner, it can be huge, right? They say if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And I'm like, I think I've had enough of this solo journey. I think I'm ready for a partner. So if you guys have suggestions on what you think makes a good partner or how you pick a good partner, I'm all yours.
I've thought a lot about this. I had, similar to you, I had two partners in my first business. They were high school friends and they were 10 years older than me. So they were very close friends. And I was pretty close to one of them, but it was always the two of them versus me. I always got ganged up on, and we were all equal partners, third. And then my second company, I was 50-50 partners with the guy. And I couldn't, I don't know. Like we didn't see eye to eye. I eventually ended up buying him out, and then I ran the business the rest of the time. And then here, in Signal Insights, I have two partners and we have a bunch of investors. So it's very, very different how it's structured. But I much prefer my current structure where there's kind of clear command, like who runs what, who does what. I have respect for my partners. Not that I didn't in my prior business, but we ask this question a lot because I think partnerships is the least talked about thing in business because no one wants to talk about because it's very hard to talk about. And also, it feels the most consequential, to your point, because doing something alone, some people can do it. Like I was basically alone in my last business after I bought out my partner. But seeing what a great partnership is like now, I never want to do it alone again. To me, I love it. I much prefer a great partnership. But I almost feel lucky that I got into this partnership.
That's good to hear.
I don't know.
It's good to hear.
That's why we asked the question.
Both sides.
Yeah.
What about you, Fabio?
I agree. I think I started my first business like online survey monkey competitor. And I did that alone, and it was very alone. And part of the reason it didn't succeed, I think, is because I just ran out of energy by myself. Whereas my next business with Matt, we were very complementary, right? He was a pharmacist actually, and I was a tech guy, and we had very complementary skill sets, which made the business work with very little money, which ended up being profitable and a good business. I think long term we ended up having different goals. Long term, I want to start a health insurance company in Troy, and in that business, I think what I took is my co-founder and I actually don't have as many complementary skills. I think we overlap on a lot of skills, which people would say is bad, but I think we align more on the long-term vision, which I think now, is really even more important if this is going to be a long-term thing. That piece is more important than complementary skills because we can always hire for whatever skills we feel we're missing. Now that we have some capital. So a little different situation when you have capital versus when you have to do everything yourself. But I'm trying some side projects and things that I don't have a partner in. So if anything, I'm like going kind of the other way and experimenting again on what it's like to be more of a solo founder.
Interesting.
So.
What advice would you have for someone who's just getting started out in entrepreneurship, and maybe they're the equivalent of that of you as the kid when you were, selling the candy, and maybe they did that in high school, and now they're in college or they're coming out of college and they're thinking about, they want to be an entrepreneur, but they don't know what to do. They don't have a lot of resources. Maybe they're hungry and smart. Like, what advice would you have for someone like that to
Yeah,
kind
it's
of get
gonna
started
sound
in
super
entrepreneurship?
generic, but I would say gain knowledge and experience as aggressively possible. Um, so, whether that's working, volunteering, one absorbs knowledge to just really turn it up, really wick it up. Because, now with a couple kids and more responsibilities, I find myself like, okay, like, how can I eke out 30 extra minutes? What does that 30 extra minutes cost me, and what am I going to do with that? Whereas when I was 21, I was just like, okay, I was like, 3 hours. Yeah, it's like just like, oh, if I started
So much time.
gaining knowledge and experience then, even just like an hour a day would have compounded to a very different place, but or knowledge base at least. Who knows? Maybe.
Huh. Is that the advice that you would give to your younger
Yeah,
self? Like
absolutely.
aggressively gain the
Gain
knowledge or
knowledge
the experience?
experience as aggressively as possible. Well, I wouldn't say as aggressively as possible, but
Yeah, aggressively is like an interesting kind of
yeah, I
word.
guess
What does that mean?
aggressively within like reason, right? But active, maybe active is the better way to describe it. Instead of just like, oh, well, something's gonna come to me, maybe I'll learn something here, right? Or like you do something out of need. So I learned a lot from my first job, my second jobs, because, I needed an income. But being proactive, had I, for instance, I was a mechanic as my like second job. If I was more proactive in learning about, vehicles, vehicle systems, and other things related to what I was doing, if I just spent like an extra 20 or 30 minutes a day, I would have pushed that part of my career, or at that time, that career path much faster, significantly faster, which I was then, when I worked on heavy machinery, I could have applied some of it, and that probably would have escalated also my pay grade and whatnot. So, just a little bit, actively going after knowledge and experience, I think really, really adds up in the end. Just takes you to a different place.
That's really great advice. I also, as a kid, would try to gain knowledge in lump sum. So I would like, I want to learn Photoshop. And so I would like spend, to your point, when you were young, have so many time, like I spend a day, 4 or 5 hours, just like reading and learning everything about Photoshop. But you only get so far, even in a session of 5 hours of learning Photoshop. You can only get so far. And then the next day I'd be like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. Let's do something else. And I do think now learning I've learned that it's better to have. So like what I would do now, and what I do now, actually, I'm trying to learn music, a musical instrument. And what I try to do is like put like 15 minutes or 30 minutes on my calendar every day at a certain time. And that doing 15 minutes every day, even though I might miss some days, the fact that there's that routine built in actually gets me so much further, and my brain has time to take in the knowledge over days and weeks and months versus how I used to try to gain knowledge in like one huge,
Yeah, I have to agree. I was
session, which
definitely the
didn't
same
work
way.
very well.
Lots of interest for a short amount of time.
How about you, Taylor? How do you gain knowledge? Taylor reads a ton.
Yeah, I read. Also, I
Ooh.
like building little projects. So today or Friday, I built like we use this tool called grain.com, and it records all my meetings and the sales meetings of my team. So it automatically records all their Zoom meetings, team meetings, everything. And they rolled out this transcript functionality, which is kind of cool. So it'll transcribe all the meetings, and then they combine that with an AI summary. So it'll basically summarize all your meetings in one paragraph, and it says who spoke and what did they say and what was kind of the action items. What were the action items? So my project was to connect that into our CRM. So now automatically, as soon as a meeting ends, it pumps that summary into our CRM, which doesn't sound, and I didn't do this for months, but it doesn't sound all that valuable. And now I'm one business day in, it's Monday when we record this. And I'm like, why didn't I do this 6 months ago? because it's so cool. Because I don't remember all the meetings. We have so many sales meetings. I don't remember them all. And so to be able to see the summary and there's a link to like click and watch it, but I don't need to watch it. I just need a summary, the refresh. What did I promise that guy? What did she say? What? And I love little projects like that. Like I get super excited by those little 4-hour things that I get to go and build them.
I take that down.
And then they're immediately useful. That's really fun to me. Yeah. It competes in this space that there's like $1,000 a month competitors,
awesome.
and then there's Grain at $29 a month. It's amazing. And it's unlimited usage. I wish I should be an affiliate for them. I should be MLM for Grain because
MLM. I think it's just sales of art. It doesn't have to have layers of people underneath you. Just marketing.
Yeah, there's no multi-level, I guess.
Just
Any
last thoughts or any words of advice? Any plugs you want to share with our listeners?
Nothing really comes to mind, but I think Grain was good for. I mean, I got a nice takeaway.
Friendly Pharmacy, jc.com, guys. Get that Keto 1000 product of the week hydration pack.
I love it. I'm gonna buy that right after this.
Thanks, Lev. Thanks
for coming on, Victor.
Care,
Great to see you, buddy.
Thank you for rocking with the homies. Taylor, Trusty, and Flavio. Seize the day, own it. Until next time, hold it down, hold it